So take a listen to this. Pine Bush High School in New York under attack for asking students to recite the Pledge of Allegiance in Arabic.
Watching the news and stuff, I know that there's people, sacrificing, their lives.
Everything that happened was between our country and them, and then we're saying our country's pledge in their language.
So there you hear it's not sitting well with students, but the school side is this, quote, "Our intention was to promote the fact that those who speak a language other than English still pledge to salute this great country," end quote there. So was this just an innocent mistake with well-intentioned action there? Joining me now is Dr. Jasser from the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. He's also the author of A Battle for the Soul of Islam. Doctor, thanks for being with us here. So
it's great to be with you.
Let me ask you this. Is this about intolerance?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, we have to look at what's happening. We are at war, Elizabeth, and yes, Arabic is my mother tongue, and I love my language and the Arabic culture, but this is not in a vacuum, and they didn't decide to just sort of recite Arabic literature. They're reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Imagine, Elizabeth, in World War II, if we had decided to recite the Pledge of Allegiance in German. We weren't fighting all Germans, but we were at a war against evil German nationalists, and that would have struck a nerve in America that would have been absurd. So again, we are at war against the ISIS, against the Islamic State, against radical Islam. They use my scripture, they use my Arabic language in a way that I find offensive. But, you have to look at the translation. We would be saying, those kids didn't probably know what they were saying. I get it. They were probably well-intentioned. But what they were saying in Arabic would be lost in translation. It's the exact core of what we're fighting. And we have to understand why Americans were outraged.
This was part of a week to celebrate foreign languages. So you're specifically here because the context that we're in includes war. It involves wartime, particularly against ISIS. Are you saying that this is so different than them saying it in French, in Spanish, in Italian, and why?
It's very different because we are at war against radical Islam, which uses the Arabic language. I mean, let's think about it in Arabic. They would have said, Ummah wahida taht Islam, or under God, or under Allah. So to them, al-Baghdadi is trying to unify the caliphate under that. So the youth, our Muslim youth that might be radicalized, they're Islamo-patriots going to fight with ISIS. So the pledge really strikes at the core of what we're fighting. And, the kids probably didn't know that's what they were wading into. But we have to understand that's why Americans are outraged. And I think most American Muslims and Arabs especially would be outraged and say, hold on a sec, multiculturalism is one thing, but the pledge is in English. And, I'll tell you, there's a group called the American Muslim Jurists of America. They had on their website back in '08, don't recite the pledge because it's offensive to Muslims, etc. This is why it should be in English, and we shouldn't translate it, especially against, communities or nations that we're at war with.
Yeah, well, it certainly has divided the school, and in this time, it's a tough topic here. Dr. Jasser, we thank you for your expansive perspective always on this issue.
Anytime. Thanks, Elizabeth.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.